Welcome to the Laverne Church of the Brethren's weekly audio message. Here at the Laverne Church of the Brethren, we create a Christian community called by Christ to be inclusive, caring, and peace-minded. We affirm that people of any race, ethnic identity, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, age, economic status, faith tradition, or life situation are welcome in our congregation. We believe in compassionate service, stewardship of creation, respect for diversity, and nonviolent reconciliation for differences among all people, nations, and faith traditions. We claim no creed but the New Testament as exemplified by the life of Christ. We strive to follow the way of Jesus. And through these efforts, we seek to grow ever closer to the mind and heart of God. And now let us ground ourselves as we enter into today's message.
I'll be reading from Matthew 2, verses 1 through 12. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them there where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem and in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route.
Spirit, take us home. Take us home by another way. Take us long way round tyrants and their schemes. Give us strength to walk. Show us dreams of a better day. And we'll pave the way with justice, going home by another way. Take Us Home by Another Way is a song of resistance written by Christopher Grundy. The verses and refrain poignantly describe the Magi's journey and offers us wisdom for this day and our journey. I was especially drawn to the words in the refrain. It sounds like a prayer that the Magi would have offered, and a prayer that's relevant for us today. Give us strength to walk. Show us dreams of a better day, and we'll pave the way with justice, going home by another way. The good news contained in this passage from Matthew and in the song affirm that God strengthens, guides, and accompanies us on the journey, even in perilous times. God's Spirit accompanies us on the journey, even when the star is no longer visible. These texts encourage us to trust the nudges of the divine and to lean into that call. like the Magi. May we discover saying yes to God gives us courage to follow another way. It gives us courage to step into and step towards the unknown. It gives us courage not to yield to threats or cunning. Saying yes to God opens our eyes and our hearts to goodness, to truth, to love, and to beauty. It's these sacred qualities that make us stronger. These qualities enable us to be more resilient, more human, and more humane. Goodness, truth, love, and beauty reveal the weakness, the corruption, and the ugliness of lying, manipulation, and evil embodied by the Herods of this day. Herod was named King of the Jews by the Roman Empire. And as a servant of Rome, Herod's policies and taxes were oppressive. Herod catered to the powers that be that were above him, giving little regard for the well-being of those he served and in the community. The political climate was tense. Resources for the vulnerable were limited, and people were living in a mix of fury and disempowerment. And so when the Magi arrive, the Magi's question and their description of why they journeyed to Jerusalem tips the scales for Herod. Where is the one who is born King of the Jews? For we saw his star rise, and we have come to worship him. Hearing these words, Herod's insecurity and fear leaped into warp speed. Fear of a political rival, fear of an opposing voice, fear of a revolt by the people disturbed Herod. As one writer puts it, a troubled Herod is a dangerous Herod. A troubled Herod is moved to cunning and violence. And we see that unfold in the text that follows. But by contrast, a troubled Jesus is a hopeful and empowering Jesus. Do you recall when Jesus was troubled when he saw Mary weeping? He responds by raising Lazarus from the dead. And in his own life, when Jesus is troubled by the knowledge that he will die soon, he embraces the moment and leans into what God is calling him to be and become. And then when Jesus is troubled by the fact that one of his own will betray him, he responds with words of comfort and promises of joy and the abiding presence of God's Spirit with them. We see in Scripture that when Jesus is troubled, it's different than the response of a troubled Herod. The story of the Magi invites us to consider the many ways that God speaks to us, guides us, and leads us, even in moments of trouble. See, the Magi were led by and led to the sacred by the reading of the night sky and the listening for wisdom in their dreams. The Magi were willing to follow the star and the signs that they were given, wherever it led them, to whomever it led them to, and through whatever it led them, they followed. The star guided them on their way through a political terrain where they were not particularly welcomed. Yet, they persisted. They persisted in following the star, heeding the nudging of the divine. Hearing their story makes me wonder, what do we look to in our world as a source of guidance and inspiration? To whom do you look? Or does the ugliness of the world convince us to stop listening for the voice of God, or for looking for the presence of God in our world? The biblical text and the words of the song's refrain that I shared at the beginning of this message encourage us to believe that we would be better served if we directed our energies and focus on collaboration around shared hopes, shared dreams, and shared beliefs in something that is better, that we might build across borders and differences. It is my hope that we can find the courage to be open to looking up, to looking within, and to looking around in order to discern God's calling and new direction for this new year. 2025 brought many challenges, many changes, and even opportunities. At times it felt as though we didn't have a guiding star to lead us, that we were groping in the dark to find our way. But yet we're called, and there is a light that's leading us. The current treatment of our siblings and immigrant neighbors cast a shadow over everything. But yet, there's the light of beauty and hope and love that calls out something more. It calls us to embrace diversity and acceptance. Those things that we hold dear, we shouldn't give up on them, even in this dark moment. This journey of following the star, this journey of following Jesus' way, calls us to embrace courage and hope. It calls us to seek those things out, even when it feels as though there is none. Despite the challenges, we are nudged by God's Spirit to persevere and to believe that the light of hope is returning. We're not there yet because we're still making our way home. So let's keep walking. Let's keep walking and trusting God's Spirit to lead us. Let's look to the star. Go now as stargazers of the Spirit, seeking justice, sharing compassion, celebrating joy, and walking in peace. Let your lives be light enough to travel and bright enough to reveal love's way. Let us go home by another way.
We're so glad that you listened to the message today. If you're looking for an open and affirming, peace-loving, and justice-seeking congregation, consider visiting us for in-person worship on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. We'd love to meet you.